You are listening to Thick Thighs and Murder Vibes, a true crime podcast. Join us as we uncover untold pieces of the puzzle to give you all the dark and juicy details.
Each episode will take you down the rabbit hole as we dive deep into real-life murders, unsolved mysteries, and sinister crimes. This podcast does contain explicit content and graphic descriptions. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Welcome back, accomplices, and happy Mother's Day to all human and fur mamas out there. Obviously, there's no better theme this week than to cover killer moms.
And what better day to record about killer moms than the day that bitch Lori Vallow is found guilty of murdering her two innocent babies. Perfect timing on that one. We've been following that case since the very beginning, and it just fucking pisses me off.
Girl, I'm right there with you. I cannot tell you how ecstatic I am that she is guilty, as well she should be. But
Yes.
we still have to wait to find out if she will get the death penalty, and I fucking hope so.
God, I hope so.
I don't know about you, but I was so afraid that this was going to turn into another Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
Also, Shayna, I love you, girl, but you sound like shit.
Yeah. I'm sick, so I'm sorry in advance for the extra annoying voice this week. But on top of my annoying voice, we have two cases for you again and a few little extras. But first, Tara has some facts for us.
I sure do. So I did some digging, of course, and on average, according to FBI statistics, 450 children are murdered by their parents each year in the United States. Of those cases, 42.6% are mothers. And a mother is slightly more likely to kill her son over killing a daughter. Almost 72% of children killed by their parents were 6 years of age or younger.
Oh my gosh.
1/3 of the victims are babies under the age of 1. And more than 13% of the victims were adults, specifically people of age ranging from 18 to 40. So the threat of being off by your parents doesn't go away just by getting older.
Mine would always say, I brought you into this world, I can take you out.
Just not the same way.
Yeah.
Yes. 90% of the victims were the biological sons or daughters of the killer. Motives behind killing your own children include, but are not limited to, altruism. The parent kills the child because he or she may perceive it to be in the child's best interest. It may be reality-based, for example, if the child suffers from a terminal illness, or preceding the suicide of the parent, as the parent feels it would be unfair to leave the child behind to face the cruel world. Acute psychosis, where the parent kills the child based on ideas that are inconsistent with reality. For example, the parent believes the child has been possessed by the devil. An unwanted child, where the parent kills the child that he or she regards as a hindrance. Accidental, where the child's death is an unintentional outcome of parental physical abuse. And spousal revenge, where the parent kills the child in an effort to exact revenge on the other parent.
So, we thought these Moms of the Year contestants deserved a quick mention, too. Diane Downs, in 1983, Downs, a 27-year-old divorced postal service worker, told police that a bushy-haired stranger flagged down her car and shot her 3 children on a back road near Springfield, Oregon. Downs' story about the stranger did not add up. Reading through her diaries, police found a motive. An obsession with a married man who didn't want her children. So why not just get rid of the kids?
Yeah.
Susan Smith. In October 1994, Susan drowned her 2 young sons, buckling them into their car seats and pushing the car into a South Carolina lake. The car sank with the sleeping children in the back. Smith initially told police that a black man had hijacked her car and abducted her children. Citizens desperately searched for the boys for 9 days until Smith finally confessed that she killed her sons. Andrea Yates. In June 2001, Andrea methodically drowned her 5 children in the bathtub in their Houston home. The case shocked the American public. Yates told police and psychiatrists after the crime that Satan ordered her to kill her children to save them from eternal damnation.
We also have Deborah Jenner Tyler, who in 1987, using a kitchen knife and a metal toy airplane, The South Dakota resident, Deborah, stabbed her 3-year-old daughter 70 times, killing her.
Jeez.
Deborah claimed she had been working a lot, was under a lot of stress, and that her daughter was acting very finicky.
She was 3 years old.
Yeah.
Name a single 3-year-old that's not very finicky.
Can't do that. China Arnold was accused of killing her 3-week-old daughter in a microwave oven in Dayton, Ohio on August 30th, 2005.
Oh my God.
Investigators said the baby was burned to death in the oven after Arnold and her boyfriend had an argument over who the child's biological father was.
So their solution was just to fucking nuke the baby?
I guess so.
What?
Seems legitimate. And then we have Lindsay Lowe. Lindsay Lowe was a 25-year-old woman who killed her twins only a minute after each was born on September 12th, 2011.
Jeez.
She had given birth to the babies in her toilet and did not want her parents to know that she was pregnant. The new mother put her bare hands on the mouths of each twin until they fell silent and stopped breathing. She then went on to hide the dead babies in a laundry basket inside her room and covered it with a blanket. Their presence in the home was reported to police by her own father. Lowe was sentenced to life in prison, but in a stunning development in December of 2022, after only serving 9 years, Lowe was ordered by a judge to be released and granted a new trial.
Well, that's nice. Also, this girl was 25. Who cares what her parents thought?
Yeah.
Like, what does it matter?
And how did nobody know that she was giving birth to her kids on the toilet?
Yeah, but also, like, not just one baby, but two. That's a significant, like, bump you would have.
It just doesn't add up.
Nope.
So these were some of our runner-up cases, but there are 2 in particular that we wanted to really get into this week, and Shayna is going to start us off.
Sorry again about my voice this week. Paula Marie Blue was born on May 21st, 1959 in Freeman, Missouri, to Orville and Nylene Blue. She was the youngest of 3 children and the only girl. Around the age of 7, her family moved to Missouri, and she started getting sexually molested by her grandfather shortly after.
Oh.
From what I could find, he wouldn't rape her, but would touch her inappropriately and masturbate in front of her, which is still really fucked up.
That's disgusting.
Yes. By the time she turned 13, she was really close to her brother Randy, who was only 2 years older than her, and would hang out with him and his friends, drinking and smoking the devil's lettuce. She also started shoplifting around this time, you know, that ganja influence man.
It's that gateway drug.
Gateway to shoplifting.
Gateway to my refrigerator.
In 1976, when she was 17, Paula was in a car wreck with Randy, who died at the scene at the age of 19.
Mm-hmm.
Paula was 17. She suffered fractures to her face and jaw from the airbag deploying and required surgery to fix her jaw. Randy's autopsy showed drugs and intoxication. After this accident, she started secluding herself off, liking to be alone, and started having suicidal thoughts. She was known as a loner in high school and attended a community college for a year after graduation. Afterwards, she worked as a cashier at a grocery store, but was later fired from that job because she was undercharging her friends and family. In 1979, at the age of 20, she first met Robert Sims through a high school friend when they attended a concert together. And on May 2nd, 1981, the two were married. Less than 2 years later, the two moved to Brighton, Illinois, and Paula soon became close friends with their neighbors, Don and Minnie Gray. On June 5th, 1986, the Sims welcomed the birth of their firstborn daughter, Lorelei Marie. On the 17th, a frantic Paula ran over and pounded on Minnie's door. "They stole my baby! They stole my baby!" is all she shouted out. Paula eventually told Minnie that she was watching the evening news and a masked gunman entered her home and told her to lie on the floor for 10 minutes or he would kill her. Paula said she was terrified and did as she was told. She told Minnie that when the man left, he had taken Lorelei, and that she chased the man down the driveway, but he had disappeared into the darkness.
How convenient.
Right? Minnie's husband, Don, called the Jersey County Sheriff's Department to report the abduction, while Paula ran back home to find her husband's work phone number. Minnie accompanied her to her house to wait with her until the police came. Paula had pointed out to Minnie where Lorelei was sleeping in her room in the basement and the door the abductor used to gain entry. Minnie started to feel like something wasn't right with Paula's story. For one, she noticed that the baby's blanket in the bassinet was neatly folded back, not like the baby had just been ripped from it. Another thing that unsettled Minnie was when she came into the house, she accidentally let out the family dog, but Paula got him back inside and stated to Minnie that the dog barked at anyone who came near their home. Minnie asked Paula if the dog had barked because she did not hear him. Paula said that he didn't bark because he must have been in another room in the basement and did not hear the intruder. This was very strange to Minnie because she knew the dog barked all the time and could not see how a man breaking into their home would go unnoticed by this dog, no matter what room of the house he was in. Especially because she said he was in the basement. And
yeah. Well,
the
my first
baby's room is in the basement as well.
Yeah, my first red flag is the fact that instead of calling the police, she ran to the neighbor's house.
Right?
Like, if your child was really abducted, and first off, very first off, if a man comes into your home and tells you you need to lay on the ground for 10 minutes or he's going to shoot you, that's like an oddly specific time.
Yeah, right.
And second, why wouldn't you even attempt
Right.
to fight back when you have a child in the house?
Right. Like, you're just gonna, oh, no, my baby's downstairs if you want the baby, too.
Yeah.
Like, just...
So the abductor came in through the basement door. The baby's in the basement. Where's mom? Upstairs, watching the news.
Yeah.
So he walked past the baby, goes upstairs, tells her to lay on the ground, and then goes back downstairs and steals the baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, logic. Robert rushed home after receiving the call at work, and by the time he arrived, the police were already scouring his home for clues. A still visibly frantic Paula ran up to her husband and said, "Rob, I'm so sorry I disappointed you."
Oh, God.
When he tried to reassure her, she continued, "You were so disappointed when Lorelei was a girl, and I disappointed you because I didn't stop the man from taking her." Realizing that several officers were listening to their conversation, Rob leaned over and whispered something in Paula's ear, ending any further public conversation between the two. That's not suspicious.
Yeah. There's your motive.
Paula's words, "You were so disappointed when Lorelei was a girl," would resound in detectives' minds for a very long time. Police were desperate to find the infant, but her parents weren't being cooperative with them. Rob only spoke in a low, monotone voice, and Paula was inconsolable. With what little they were able to pull from the hysterical mother, however, police were starting to agree with Minnie Gray. Something wasn't quite right. As soon as the sun rose on Wednesday, June 18th, 1986, police stepped up their search efforts by bringing in scent tracking dogs, sent planes up for an aerial view search, which I feel would kind of be pointless to try and find a tiny baby in a plane. I don't know, they're thinking on that one. And divers donned wetsuits to begin searching the pond at the rear of the Sims home. As the divers were getting into their suits, police noticed Paula and her family standing on the porch, and they continuously stared in the pond's direction. When an officer approached Paula and suggested now would be a good time to go with deputies and give her official statement, Paula eerily said, "No, I want to be here when they bring her body up."
Oh.
Realizing immediately what she had just said, Paula corrected herself. "No, that's not what I mean. I mean, my baby is alive, and I want to be here when they bring her onto the porch."
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what you meant. Nice save. Searchers found nothing that day, but they continued to search, and they persisted in their questioning of Robert and Paula in hopes that the baby's mother would remember something that could help find Lorelei. The Sims eventually hired an attorney to stop the investigators' relentless questioning. Obviously, that's not going to be suspicious. If you were innocent, you would want those investigators going over absolutely everything as many times as they needed to to figure out where the hell your infant was.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And also, I am getting the very strong feeling that her husband is also involved.
Spoiler alert, I think he was definitely involved.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, June 24th, 1986, a week after Lorelei's disappearance, searchers were still in the area surrounding the Sims home looking for their daughter. Rob was standing nearby when one of the detectives pondered aloud whether the wooded area had yet been searched. Rob responded by saying the woods was covered in poison ivy and he didn't recommend anyone search there for very long because they might get a miserable reaction. And if that doesn't scream, I know she's in there, I don't know what does.
Yeah, he literally was like, you should check in there.
Yeah. Just right here. The detective found the comment strange and ordered the dogs be taken into the woods to search for Lorelei. And surprise, just a short distance in, the dog began barking. The skeletal remains of baby Lorelei had been found just 150 feet behind the family's home.
The skeletal remains?
Mm-hmm.
How long had she been dead at this point?
So she had been reported missing a week. They did have suspicions that she was dead for at least 2 days prior. And its skeletal remains, because from what I could see, they suspect a raccoon drug her body down a hill where they found her in the woods. And so wildlife, I'm pretty sure.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make that confusing for everyone. Police were not sure when the baby had died.
Oh, I guess I could have waited. So sorry.
Police were not sure when the baby had died. Theorized maybe 2 days before she was reported missing by the parents, making them the top suspects in the death of their daughter. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because duh. In January of 1987, Rob and Paula moved to Alton, Illinois. So at this point, they hadn't been charged in the case.
They weren't even charged.
Because there was no evidence. So a year later, on February 1st of 1988, after moving, the Sims welcomed the birth of their second child.
They had another one.
Ooh, but wait, there's more. Their second child, a baby boy that they named Randall Troy after Paula's brother. The couple lived a private, reclusive life in their new home, always having the blinds drawn and even building a privacy fence so neighbors never saw or heard any of them outside, even with their new baby. That is, until 1989, when it happened again. They had their third child on March 18th, 1989, a baby girl that they named Heather Lee. Heather was 6 years old when Rob came home from work on April 29th, 1989, and found his wife laying unconscious on the kitchen floor. Flashing back to 3 years before, Rob ran to his daughter's bassinet and discovered it empty.
But not his son.
They check on him in a minute. Oh. He returned to the kitchen and tried to bring Paula to by screaming, "Where is Heather? Paula, where is Heather?" When Paula came to, she answered the baby was in her bassinet. Rob responded that she was not in her bed, and they both ran upstairs to check on their son, whom they found sleeping safe and sound in his room.
Oh, how convenient.
Yes.
So they just don't like girls.
Again, 911 was called, and Paula had stated that she was taking out the trash and someone hit her in the back of the head. Paula was taken to the Alton Police Department in hopes of gaining as much information about the kidnapping as possible. The medical examiner found no forensic evidence to prove that Paula had been struck in the back of the head. Detectives who questioned Paula were surprised by her demeanor. Unlike the hysterical woman she had been 3 years ago, this woman was calm and laid back. She casually smoked while answering the investigators' questions with simple, unhelpful answers. Meanwhile, officers continued to search the Sims' home looking for evidence, as Rob followed them around, watching their every move. On May 9th, 1989, baby Heather's remains were found in a trash barrel near the edge of the parking lot at Alton Lake, in a black trash bag.
Oh, so we know what trash she was taking out.
Yep. The body showed signs of frostbite. where the medical examiner believed she may have been put into a freezer and kept there for a few days. The forensic team was able to prove that the black trash bag came from the same roll that was currently in the Sims home by matching the perforation marks, and Paula's DNA was later found on the trash bag the baby was found in.
Oh, my God.
Just as with Lorelai, Heather had died of asphyxiation, most likely because of a hand or blanket being pressed firmly against her nose and mouth. Fearing for the safety of the Sims' only surviving child, little Randy was removed from his parents' home, which witnesses said seemed to have a greater emotional impact on the couple than the death of their daughters.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Confronted with the evidence and its obvious meaning, Robert finally broke down and admitted he believed Paula had killed their daughters, saying he had not wanted to believe his wife capable of murder, but maybe she was. Trying to elicit a possible motive from Robert, they asked him about life before Heather's birth. Robert admitted he and Randy slept in a bedroom separate from Paula and Heather, but after her abduction, they had resumed sleeping together.
They really just don't like girls.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They couldn't gather enough evidence to arrest Robert, but they did have enough for Paula. She was arrested on Sunday, July 2nd, 1989. The state announced soon afterwards they intended to seek the death penalty in the Paula Sims case. The trial began on Monday, January 8th, 1990. Paula is charged with the death of Heather. She was only suspected in the death of Lorelai and was never charged due to the lack of forensic evidence. The case was in court for a little over 2 days. The jury deliberated for 10 hours. Robert was not charged in the deaths, even though he was suspected of being an accomplice.
Oh, he definitely was.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that one. The police believed he helped hide the babies' bodies. Paula received a sentence of life without parole. She was convicted on 1 count of first-degree murder, 2 counts of obstructing justice, and 1 count of concealing a homicide. A little more than 2 years after her conviction, Paula admitted to murdering both of her infant daughters. Shocker.
Oh.
Claiming she was trying to please Robert, who had been upset at the birth of daughters instead of sons.
But he didn't say, I don't want daughters, so you need to kill them.
Or maybe he did. She stated that it was postpartum depression for both deaths, and that she had postpartum with her son Randall and had threatened him after he would not stop crying one day, but was able to control herself enough to keep from killing him as well.
Congratulations.
Mother of the Year. Robert wasted no time and filed for divorce in 1990, getting custody of Randall. And then so a little later developments in this case. In 2007, Paula petitioned for clemency. Her request was denied.
Good.
In 2015, Robert Sims and the son he had with Paula, Randy Sims, were both killed in a car accident in Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh.
Which is sad, but also super ironic, because if you remember, Paula's brother Randy, who her son was named after, also died in a car accident.
Yeah. Karma's a bitch.
In November 2021, so just a year and a half ago, after serving 32 years for the murder of her infant daughters, Paula Marie Sims was paroled. So much for life without parole.
Are you fucking kidding me? She's out on parole. She's a baby killer.
That she is.
And she's out on fucking parole.
Yeah. So that's my case. But we aren't finished here. So Tara, take it away.
So my case this week is the case of Otty Sanchez. Shortly after giving birth to a baby boy, Otty Sanchez began to hear voices in her head. They told her that her newborn son was the devil and that he was going to be the cause of an apocalypse.
So he's the Antichrist.
Yes. Otty Sanchez had a long history of mental illness. She was in and out of hospitals for half of a decade. After Otty graduated high school, she went on to study to be a pharmacy technician at the university. That's where she met Scott Butchels, who suffered from mental illness as well. The two began a dysfunctional on-again, off-again relationship, and inevitably, Otty's mental health affected her so severely that she ended up leaving pharmacy school. In May of 2008, Otty's mother, Manuela Sanchez, called police after her daughter did not return home from a trip to Austin. Otty had been in Austin to see an acupuncturist for her hallucinations. However, instead of coming home when expected, she stopped into a pharmacy and spent hours there. She stated that the voices told her to. Employees called police, and Otty was taken to Austin State Hospital, where she was diagnosed with multiple forms of psychosis. Doctors concluded that Otty was paranoid, mildly delusional, depressed, and psychotic with hallucinations. She was given a prescription and released. While on the medication, the voices inside Otty's head diminished. However, Otty had been unable to afford the medication and was forced to stop taking it.
Sounds about right.
Shortly after coming off the medication, Otty became pregnant. During her pregnancy, she went to a counselor for depression, but refused to go on any further medication. Scotty Wesley Buchholz Sanchez was born on June 30th, 2009. Tragically, after the birth of her son, Otty slipped further into depression. As it would soon be discovered, there were numerous warning signs that something tragic was about to unfold. Otty had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and postpartum psychosis. Let's not forget, she had an extensive history of hospitalizations, and furthermore, she still wasn't taking her medications following the birth of her son. Postpartum psychosis can cause hallucinations and delusional thoughts, so the voices in Otty's head began again. Also, her recovery from childbirth was complicated by an infection that darkened her mood.
Perfect, because she didn't have enough going against her already.
Yeah. On July 20th, 2009, Otty was taken by emergency services to the hospital. She informed staff that she was hallucinating and having bad thoughts. She stated she believed that her son's face was changing. She clearly indicated that she needed to be hospitalized and placed in the psychiatric ward because the voices in her head. However, doctors determined that she was having a severe mental breakdown and subsequently released her the same day.
Even if she's having a severe mental breakdown, you can't just be like, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
What the hell?
When Otty came home, she told her son's father that she was suffering mentally and that she was going back home to live with her parents and sister.
It sounds like she was making, like smart moves up until then.
Yeah.
She told them what needed to happen.
Yeah. She tried to get the help that she needed.
Yeah.
Scott Sr. said that he knew that Otty had postpartum depression, but he didn't believe that she was unstable. He additionally said that Otty had been attending regular counseling sessions following the birth of Scott Jr., but said that she had refused to take prescription medication for depression. He said, quote, "She seemed like a very caring, loving mother. She held him, she breastfed him, she did everything for him that was nice." Just 4 days before the horrific event took place, Otty brought Scott Jr. over to his father's house so that they could have some father-son bonding. However, Otty became irate and stormed out of the house after Scott had asked her for a birth certificate and other documents. After she left, Scott called police to report that Otty had sped away from his home without properly restraining Scott Jr. in the car.
Oh, sad.
Police had investigated the call as a disturbance. They took a report but did nothing else about it. According to Bexar County Sheriff Chief's Deputy Dale Bennett, quote, "If this guy had given us an indication that she had postpartum depression or mental defects she was suffering from, we may have addressed it differently. But honestly, why does that even need to be brought into play? You should have been investigating it anyways."
She sped off without her kid properly restrained.
Her 2-week-old baby.
Yeah, mentally stable or not, it doesn't change the fact that she sped away without properly restraining her son.
The things that could have prevented this from.
Yeah, it sounds like they were all there.
On July 25th, 2009, Otty brought her son to her sister Priscilla so that Priscilla would care for baby Scotty. She told her sister that she heard voices, but Priscilla soon returned the baby to Otty.
Oh, God.
She felt that Otty had calmed down and was feeling much better. But that night, the voices in Otty's head grew louder. They told Otty that baby Scotty was the apocalypse, so she had to kill him. Otty used a steak knife and repeatedly stabbed the baby. She then decapitated him and mutilated his body.
Oh my God.
Afterwards, she stabbed herself in the stomach and sliced her own throat.
Oh my God.
It was around 5 a.m. on July 26, 2009, when Otty's sister woke up to Otty's screams the following day, only to find the horrific scene. Priscilla immediately called the police and stated, "My sister hurt her baby." During the 4-minute 911 call, you can hear Otty in the background screaming, "I killed my baby. I didn't mean to do it."
Oh, jeez. What a way to start your morning. 5 a.m., bright and early.
At one point during the frantic call, Garcia tells the dispatcher that her sister has stabbed her child and that there's blood all over the bed. She says, quote, "She went crazy last night. She was hearing voices. She kept bringing me the baby. Finally, she calmed down and I took her back the baby. And now I just woke up to her screaming, 'The baby is dead. The baby is dead. Please somebody come.'" Police rushed to the scene at Wayside Drive and were met by a bloodbath. Once inside, they discovered the body of 3.5-week-old Scotty laying in a pool of blood. The gruesome scene left even the most hardened officers shaken. The crime scene was so horrific that SAPD provided counseling services for the officers who entered the home. Not only had Scott been dismembered, but part of his brain had been cannibalized, along with his nose and 3 tiny toes.
Oh my God.
Baby Scotty's head was sitting on a nearby dresser as Otty sat on the couch with a stab wound in her chest and her throat partially slashed, still screaming, "I killed my baby. I killed my baby."
Oh my gosh. How horrific.
Otty told the police that the devil forced her to kill, mutilate, and eat parts of her only son, including his brain. She was taken to the hospital to recover from her self-inflicted wounds and was charged with capital murder and held on a $1 million bond. In July of 2010, Otty Sanchez was found not guilty by reason of insanity and was ordered to stay at a maximum security mental facility for an indefinite period of time. Defense attorney Ed Camera had provided reports from 3 separate psychologists who determined that Otty was legally insane. Prosecutors refused to contest the findings, indicating that they had agreed. She is being held in a mental hospital until she is deemed not a danger to herself and others. On the other hand, Scott's father felt Otty deserved to be punished for her crimes. He stated, quote, "The devil doesn't tell you to do anything. Where's the devil? Who talks to the devil? I think she should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. That's what I think should happen to her. She killed my son. She should burn in hell." In the interviews with psychiatrists, Otty had told them that she first took drugs in 2006, and this was when she first started hearing voices. When she went to Austin, she believed that she was there to track down a non-existent former boyfriend named Victor. She said that in the days leading up to Scott's murder, she was paranoid and feared that people were spying on her and plotting to kidnap her son. As the days passed, her paranoia escalated and the voices became louder and louder. For days, the voices told Otty that the devil was inside her child. In further interviews, Otty said that the voices had told her that her mother had killed President John F. Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe, and that the KKK was angry at her mother for killing JFK. She stated, quote, "The voices told me to hurt Scotty. He was going to be the apocalypse. The voices told me to eat his insides. I was a harlot because I had committed adultery. There was a demon in my stomach." She explained that the demons would come out of her stomach if she ate Scott at 5 a.m. in the morning. She believed that if she killed and ate Scott, he would evolve.
It's not how it works.
So for Otty to be found legally insane, the judge had to agree with the psychologist's determination that she could not tell wrong from right at the time of Scott's murder. After just 5 minutes of reviewing the reports in his chamber, he reached the conclusion that he agreed. As Otty was led out of the courtroom, Scott Sr. said, "Bye, Otty." She replied with, "Bye, I love you." Outside of court, Otty's mother, Manuela, said that she was glad that her daughter had been given a second chance at life, and added, quote, "I'm sorry my grandson didn't get that chance." The verdict meant that Otty's case would be reviewed annually by a judge to determine if and when she can be released. Mental competency was always an issue that the prosecution had considered. A.S. District Attorney Susan Reed said, quote, "It is a horrendous, horrific offense, but there is no question of Sanchez's mental state. Like people say, you'd have to be insane to do what this woman did."
Well, happy Mother's Day. We hope these make you appreciate your mom a little more.
Or at the very least, not make you want to kill your kids.
That's always a bonus. Also, as promised, we have listener birthdays. Starting off with Sky G, whose birthday is May 12th, which is the day we are recording this episode. So happy birthday, Sky!
Happy birthday! We also have Shayna's hubby Adam on Mother's Day this year, May 14th. And I'm also going to throw in my fur baby Storm, who turned 4 on the 11th.
Oh. As always, thank you so much for listening. And if you have a birthday coming up or have a case you'd like to hear us cover, you can email us at thickthighsmurdervibes@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at Thick Thighs Murder Vibes Community.
And don't forget to come back next week when we mix it up a bit to cover real life hauntings.
Bye!